The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
June, it's Wednesday, June 1, 91 the high, 94 Thursday, 80 on Friday, 81 Saturday, and 86 on Sunday. The warm weather is here, 1st of June, and the runoff is really going to begin as the melting begins. Former Congressman Tancredo at 8 o'clock. In the meantime, please say good morning. Welcome back to 630 KHW. I could have done the show for these last couple of years without him. The book is out, Where's the Birth Certificate? The case that Barack Obama is not eligible to be president. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jerry Corsi, good morning, sir.
Peter, great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. As I was mentioning in the run-up to this, that the mainstream press, all the mainstream guys and others needed was the drop of that CLF, and that was the anvil they needed to smash their hammer on to try and end all of this. And as I said that day, this is not over. Still tremendous amounts of unanswered questions, including the SSN. But now, and now that you have written, and now here comes this 22-page criminal complaint. Doctor, if you would.
Right. One of the top scanner international experts, his name is Doug Voigt, who has a company in Washington State. He's owned it since 1993, selling scanners worldwide. Before that, he owned a typesetting company. He has filed a 22-page criminal complaint with the FBI. He's charged that this long-form birth certificate released by the White House is a criminally fraudulent document. And the proof that he's offered, I've written a 3-page series. The first of the 3 articles appears today in WorldNet Daily, and the proof is extremely strong. I think the forensic evidence is overwhelming that the White House release document is fraudulent. If you just look at the first 2 pieces, if you remember the way the White House released the document, it appeared that it was a scan of a logbook that curved into the page. You could see that as even at the top they had a little black space that looked like the page being opened. Well, the analysis of the electronic document the White House released indicates that the form curves into the page, but the letters placed on the form don't curve into the page, which means this was a template created probably from a composite of several different birth certificates on which the language of the Barack Obama birth certificate was created and imposed. Clearly an indication of forgery. And there's some other examples here where you can see, several examples where you can see how that's the case. Both of, sex male, the sex curves into the page. The answer male does not. Name of the hospital curves into the page. Kapiolani, written right before it, does not.
It's amazing. I don't think there's any question in anyone's mind who knows something about PDF imaging that this certificate of live birth that the president on the 27th of April showed the press has been manipulated. I don't think there's any doubt of that.
No doubt about it whatsoever.
Now, and it's bizarre because, as we know, the attorney for the law firm that, when people used to scream, how much do they spend, and you've done the excellent work in your book. You show the $1.5 million, and I'm not the exact number because I don't have it in front of me.
Exactly.
That Obama for America spent on that law firm. Now that attorney himself, Bauer, now is on the White House staff.
Correct.
But they did send a woman attorney from that firm in Seattle
right.
to Hawaii to pick up a PDF.
Correct. It's, which is pretty ridiculous because what the White House posted is an electronic file, and clearly there were no electronic files in 1961.
No.
And what Voigt is proving is that this is not a scan of a document. If you take a look at the second set of images in the article today, he shows you what a scan looks like. It's those Security Pacific pages that have no haloing behind the letters, whereas it's clear that there's haloing behind all the letters of the Obama birth certificate, meaning this was clearly photoshopped. In other words, when somebody brought forward the background of the words they were trying to impose on this template of the various birth certificate composites they put together, they forgot to go back and repair the pixels to show the white halo effect. And that white halo effect is a smoking gun that, in fact, that the document was not a scan, but is, in fact, a computer-generated image.
And I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean,
No doubt about it. Not 100%
absolutely.
irrefutable evidence.
Absolutely.
And the other smoking gun is the combination of binary and grayscale letters in this text, which is clearly an indication that the document was a cut and paste job. That Barak and other language was placed into this document.
Mm-hmm.
Even the number, the 10641, is fraudulently created. The 1 was added into the 1064 sequence, making it clear that somebody had worked off of a birth certificate, perhaps that they'd gotten in the Hawaii Department of Health, most likely from an accomplice, that was in the 1064 series, but it was not 10641, the number that the short form certificate of live birth had assigned to Obama. So the number that they were using to create this long form had to be manipulated electronically.
And you have
changed.
to see it. I mean, you have to have someone show you how it was done.
Right.
And the R in Barak.
Yes.
It's a grayscale image.
Correct, with a lot of pixels.
And the rest of it's binary.
The rest of it's binary. It's all solid black.
So
it's obvious. I mean,
it's amazing to see all this, and maybe we can throw that up on our website and people look at it. But I mean, when this fellow came up from the Springs the day of the drop,
right,
and we sat in here, we made a video of it,
right,
and he's a really good guy, and we had a guy that taught at CU. We had them both, and they just said, "Look, this thing is just layered." Now, was it layered intentionally? And then they started further taking it apart. And you could see where some letters stay on the paper, others move.
Right.
What is it? And there's something called the white halo. What's the white halo?
Well, the white halo is what you see in the article today. In other words, if you take a look at a real scan of a security document, like those Security Pacific checks that I show here, the scan, there's no white behind the letters. In fact, you can still see the green hash marks come through in the middle of the O, for instance, of Sherman Oaks on the one example. But if you take a look at the Barack Obama birth certificate, it's completely different. All around the letters is the white halo. None of the green background comes through. In the middle of the letters, it's all white. It's clearly created when you use you probably Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and you've got the words in one template. You've created the words you're going to impose on this document, on this template, and when you put them in a layer, you bring it forward so the words are on top. You forget that creates a halo around the letters because it destroys part of your background. And a pro at this would have gone back and repaired the background.
Well, that's the weird part of this. Was it done, as someone said, by Jimmy down the hall?
Well, it was done, look, it's one of the understandings key to a criminal conspiracy, such as the White House engaged in, is you can't put out a request for proposal.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go find the best forger in the world.
You have to, as Richard Nixon did. You'd have to do it yourself.
The guys around you.
Yeah, you did it yourself, and you didn't do a good job.
And the guys around you often are not the best at what they're doing. Clearly, here in this case, someone knew how to use Illustrator, but they probably had never forged a document before. They had no appreciation of just how hard it is to do a forensically convincing forgery. This is an amateur job. The White House released it. Is clear indication of criminal activity in the White House. I mean, it's obvious. It's not even an iffy case.
Dr. Jerry Corsi is with us, 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station. Where's the birth certificate in case that Barack Obama is not eligible? And, of course, on the 27th of April, and all the dust-up with Donald Trump and the states that had begun to pass and propose legislation on showing the proof, and, of course, Jerry's book coming. Unexpectedly, on the 27th of April, the president pulls a make-two press conference and drops this thing. The press gobbles it up as they were intended to do, and it was to seal everything up and no further questions, which, of course, the next question was coming bearing down hard and remains out there as the SSN from Connecticut and the rest of those stories. But having said all of that, it's believed by some fairly significant people that this document imaging software that they released is simply a forgery. And you know what? There's every reason in the world, Jerry, to believe that.
Well, I think, Peter, the people got to understand when I wrote Where's the Birth Certificate, and it's now become a bestseller, which I'm sure the White House hates, the strategy always was to get the Obama people so freaked out that the book was coming that they would release something. I knew it had to be fraudulent. I had been tipped off a month before in February. Documented this with WorldNet Daily. That my sources in Hawaii said that this document had been forged and put into the logbook in Hawaii, so I wanted it released. We did not change the title of the book, even coming before Obama released the birth certificate. I wanted to force his hand. Now we've got a criminally forged document that's out there that the president owns because he's in the chain of evidence. He sent his lawyers out to get this, came to the White House, made a statement in the press room. He owns this document. So from here on, the future of the Obama administration depends on this document being authentic, and it's a forgery. Now, it'll take a while to prove that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take a while for the American people for this to percolate again from the internet, where people are looking at it in the thousands today, to where it hits the mainstream media. But again, it took a long time for the story itself to do that, and it took Watergate a long time to develop.
Sure. I come back to this as a final question for you to speak to. It's now under your work. The evidence is there from the federal government on how much money Barack Obama and his attorneys and others spent to block any inquiries into any of this. Well over $1.5 million.
Right.
Then including hiring that lawyer, Bauer, and bringing him onto the staff.
Correct.
Allowing Terry Lakin to go to the federal penitentiary.
Correct.
And then drop this and walk away. It doesn't add up.
Well, it adds up when you've got a mainstream media that's not doing its job anymore. When you've got a partisan kind of Pravda-like press that is only reporting the things that the president and the White House want reported to the American people, while in the meantime, the evidence is mounting that Obama was born in Kenya.
You believe that, don't you?
Oh, well, there's more time. I mean, the documents I released this week, take a look at one of the articles just below the headline, where you can see the Kenyan government documents that Obama birth records were criminally destroyed in Kenya, and that was done with an intent to disguise his birth there. The Kenyan government is reporting that the Kenyan government had reason to believe those documents.
Is it true? Is it true they're going to build this memorial village is going to be built? And
yes, it's all true. It comes out both of the intelligence reports in Kenya and the newspapers.
This is nuts.
In Kenya, it's widely assumed. The grandmother has said for years Obama was born in Kenya. It's widely assumed he was born in Kenya. Obama, before he was running for president, did not mind being called Kenyan-born. There's many articles which refer to him as Kenyan-born, and Obama didn't try to change any of them. And then when Obama did try to decide he had to be born in the United States, he picked two different hospitals. First, it was Queens.
I know. I mean, we've been down this road. This is what makes all of this so crazy.
Right.
In the conclusion, here it is, you guys. Never mind, I'm walking away.
Well, it will. The cover-up will not last, and the issue's not going away. Not when the forensic evidence is this clear that the White House committed a felony. It's not going away.
But and other than a handful of people, here we are again. This is going to be just totally dismissed by anyone.
Well, it will take its time, Peter, but there are criminal complaints are being filed. There's others. We will, WorldNet Daily, probably have a camp. There's two more stories to come tomorrow and the next day on this criminal complaint. You're going to see more evidence of why the document's a forgery.
Let me do this then. We're at the wall. We'll put you on hold, speak to Greg, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Do a quick drop tomorrow, Doc.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Jerry Corsi, it is a bizarre story, and it just isn't going to go away. But was it a fraud?
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.